What's going on, rSpace fam? Today, we decided to flip it around a little bit instead of talking about all the cheating women and talk about some cheating men, because they're just as bad. So let's dig in and see what's going on, shall we? First up, husband cheated for 5 years with the same woman while getting married and having a planned child with me. For the last 2 years, I haven't been allowed to tell anyone about this because my husband asked me not to. He said it would ruin our marriage if people found out. So, I'm finally going to get this off my chest and get some unbiased feedback. Thanks in advance. Trigger warning, suicide and sexual abuse will be mentioned, but I'll do my best to keep it on the up and up. It has been a week since I, 29 female, found out my husband, 30 male, has been cheating on me again. I'll give a little background. My husband and I were together for 4 years before he proposed. There was another 4 years before we got married, then another 4 years before we had our baby. We've been together almost 13 years. We found out my husband had depression in the beginning of our relationship. He would always have to be stoned. That was his way of coping with it. We were teenagers still, and I didn't see it as an issue then. We were living together after being together for a year. There were some red flags like him lying about random stuff, taking rent money for weed, and just being distant. He lost his job eventually, and he shut down. My dad, his grandma, and I were the ones coming up with the rent money. He never tried to get a job, and that's when he stole the rent money. All in all, we lost our apartment and had to move in with my dad in another town. So, 3 years into our relationship, we're trying to get back on our feet while living with dad. I stopped smoking because I wanted a better job to support us. This is when we grew apart. At the time, I didn't know that I felt like our trust was broken. I just wanted to make him happy and take care of things. I learned later that he felt like I abandoned him then. He wanted me to smoke with him still, but I didn't want to anymore because I didn't like it. He went to community college and worked part-time. That's where he met the other woman. I worked and paid for almost everything. He proposed in 2012 before he met her, but we had a long engagement and we never worked on our issues. After 7 years together, we set the date in 2015 to be married in 2016. 2 months after setting the date, he took his emotional affair to a physical one. I didn't know this, but she smoked with him after work in school. That's how they got close. Fast forward to 2 years after we were married. That's 3 years into the affair. My husband is even more depressed. He was talking more and more about suicide. I thought it was about him failing classes and him not being where he wants to be in life. I reassured him things will work out. We're still living with my dad. I have worked my way up to management. My husband is still at his crappy job making no money and failing school. The affair was affecting his choices. For example, he took all of our tax return and spent it on a car he couldn't afford. It was the same type of car the other woman had. They would mostly smoke and take day trips to places too. Most of these trips took place when he should have been in school, so he was failing because of her. Over time, the other woman was demanding more from him. He tried to break up with her multiple times, but he always came running back. I found out about the affair because he gave me a pill saying it was a prenatal vitamin. At the time, I wanted to start a family so badly, and he used that excuse to give me an antibiotic for any STDs. He slipped up one time with the other woman and didn't use protection, so he gave me a pill just in case. I Googled the pill and confronted him. He finally told me everything. I was devastated, but I wanted to save our marriage. We are Christians, and I believe we are bonded together. Beyond that, I love him with all my soul. So he ended things with her that night in 2018. All of 2019, we worked on our marriage. He didn't go back to her yet. It was the worst year of our lives. He went to therapy for about 5 months to figure out why he did what he did. Ultimately, it had to do with him being abused at 4 years old. Shortly after the abuse started, he was taken from his mom and sent to foster care. He says that the abuse changed his mind to think more about sexual things, and the separation broke him. He compartmentalized his feelings after that. He never felt loved and didn't really feel it for others. He was always ready to break bonds with people. He had a lot of sex partners at an early age. He never broke up with anyone. He would just cheat and people would leave him. That's why he didn't expect me to stay. He says he loves me more than he has loved anyone. It's hard though, because he describes love like he doesn't know what it is. We think he might be a psychopath. However, he does feel guilt and empathy. It's just like he is another person when he cheated. He tells me he splits himself into 2 people. He said he broke himself, that he felt distant from God, but with me, he felt like he was doing the right thing. We know he uses weed to escape reality, and the affair is like that in a way. He said it never felt real. There were a lot of fights still about me not trusting him yet. He would get suicidal often because he said I would never be that same person. He said I died the day I found out. I feel like I did too. I couldn't remember who I was before. I feel like I have PTSD from it all. We still tried to get things better. That summer, we joined a church and got baptized. I felt better, like we were recommitting to the marriage. In January of 2020, he said, let's try for a baby. I really thought that he was better. That him suggesting it at all said a lot about how far we had come. So we did, and I got pregnant immediately. Little did I know that he started pursuing the other woman again that same month. He told her I was pregnant immediately, and she was pissed. That slowed their relationship down a little bit. A few months into the affair, it got physical again. After our baby was born, my husband was with me all the time. After 2 weeks, he went back to work with an extra day off for family bonding. Soon, he started working on his extra day off. More and more, he wouldn't actually work. He would see her. I found out a week ago because I looked at his credit card and saw that he was in another town when he should have been at work. I called his work, and they said he wasn't there all day. So I called him over and over. When he answered, he wouldn't tell me where he was. That night, I confronted him. He was adamant about not telling me. He said everything is okay and not to worry. That was his way of telling me that he was going to end it and to pretend it never happened. I finally got most of the details of the affair that night. He was mad that I called his work and snooped through his finances. He was over it all. He said he can't go through another year of hell and that I won't change. He was ready to leave because he had no hope that we would recover. I still wanted to try because we have our baby now and I wasn't ready to let the other woman win. Also, he wasn't really trying to leave me for her in that moment. More like leave this earth forever. He didn't break it off with her that night because she knew I found out and blocked his number right in front of him. She told him that she is going to enjoy the holidays with her family and she can't do that crying and be depressed. So he said wait until January to deal with everything. I gave it a day and I was just getting angrier. I felt like he was still deciding on who to choose. I asked him more about it all. He explained that he wishes he could have both of us because he feels more stable. He said there's a side of him that has bad thoughts. That without her, he might do something worse like pick up random girls in bars or dating apps. He says that with things the way they are, his thoughts are content. He told me honestly he can't trust himself. He has never admitted to anyone about his perversion. So now I know the whole truth. I said he needs to get help for all his issues if he wants us to be a family. He doubts it will work, but is willing to go in January. I gave it another day. I got tired of his defeated answers. I said I wanted a separation, that he can work on himself and I could use the space to clear my head. I'm a very emotional person, but I tucked my emotions away to have a logical conversation about our family. I said we can co-parent. He's free to try things out with the other woman, but that would probably end any sort of reconciliation for us. That if he's with her, he can't bring the baby over to her house yet, and then I wouldn't keep him from the baby. He was tearful, but really thinking about the options. The only point he started to downright refuse the separation was when he started to think of me with other people. He sort of sounded like confused that I wasn't going to wait for him to come back. He thought the separation meant divorce wasn't an option. That I was always his wife while he figured things out. He said he only wanted children with me. That I was his dream girl. I explained I wouldn't be the other woman and our child isn't going to be subjected to witness this dysfunctional, destructive relationship. I said pack your things. He still had to leave even if he wasn't going to be with her. He was distraught. He started to pack but started to say he's going to make it right. He asked if I wanted to find a body or not. When he gets like that, it's hard to talk him down. I've had to stay up all night and block the door so he didn't kill himself. I have found him hanging in our closet before too. I know he's serious, so at this point, I told him crying, saying stay and we will work on things. After all this, he's been an amazing husband and father. He's 100% on board with going to therapy and being an open book. I can tell he sees me in a different light. He told me he was scared of losing me, that there's a spark every time we kiss and touch. I think he finally got that I know my own worth and I'm a mother that will put our child first no matter what. I'm not going to stand for this treatment anymore. So here I am, waiting for December to end because it feels like we can't move forward until he breaks it off with the other woman. We can't talk about things because he can't handle it. He says, let's have a good Christmas and New Year's Eve for our family. I feel dead inside. The love I have for him feels numb or blocked. Like I can't deal with any feelings until this affair is over. Only anger seeps out. I find myself ignoring him. I feel exhausted being around him, especially because he won't give me access to his phone record or bank statements. Not until January. I still think he's waiting to see if I get better. Like he wants me to show him I can get over it and love him like I did before. I honestly don't know how I feel about him, but it might be because I can't express my feelings and begin healing from this. I do know that I put my faith in the Lord, that this is shaping who we are as people, that maybe this is the only way to save my husband from destructiveness because I doubt the other woman would help him get the help he needs. I also think our baby was always going to exist, so us having the baby then splitting up could also have been God's will for us. I want to truly forgive him. I don't like the person I'm becoming. I'm angry, jealous, and have a hardened heart. So I need to move forward before I lose myself to this void. I ultimately don't want my baby to grow up in a broken home, but I will do what I must. I also don't want my husband to die. He told me even if he went with her, he would inevitably kill himself because of what he has done to his family. That he would be living a lie. He says we are his dream, that his true self only wants us. I'm waiting to start the reconciliation process. That's where I'm at right now. I'm just wavering on being hopeful. I'm open for any advice or support. Thanks for reading. Wow, that is a rough situation. Let's see if the next one is any better. Probably not. Husband, 30 male, cheated on me, 27 female, with my own sister, 21 female. Upset, confused, and angry. Forgive me if my full story is confusing in places. I'm still shaking and confused by the whole situation. So me and my partner have been together for 6 years, live together, and have a 5-week-old daughter. Me and my sister had a very close relationship since my parents haven't always been the best or supportive figures in our lives, so we clung together and would even consider myself the mother and father figure in her life. Mine and my partner's relationship has been fairly strained since my daughter has been born. He would stay late at work, be dismissive when I would want to communicate our feelings, and huff and puff when I would tend to our daughter. I had a fairly rough pregnancy and quite a traumatic birth, so my libido and overall body confidence is scarce. I don't feel like being intimate most days, and my partner would give me the silent treatment, but I never worried about him being unfaithful. I was feeding my daughter on the sofa tonight with my husband sitting next to me. We were both watching TV, and his phone kept vibrating, but I had a feeling something wasn't right with the amount of notifications and how quickly he would answer. He got up to go to the bathroom, and he didn't take his phone with him this time. I grabbed it, put the passcode in, and had a look who the messages were coming from. It was my sister. Before I looked at the messages, my heart dropped and my heart was in my mouth when I started looking at the messages. There was nudes, sexting, and conversations about how I'm not putting out like I used to, which was a knife in my chest. They had met about 4 times, and which I realized was the times where I was taking myself to the doctor for scans and checkups and getting shopping for my grandparents. I am beyond distraught. I have no idea what to do, where to go, and how to go about confronting them. I feel like my whole world has come crashing down. I have lost my husband and my sister. Let's see what the community thinks. No Outlaw for Me says, send yourself copies of those messages and any replies that he may have sent, and get yourself a lawyer or woman's aid advocate before you let him know what you found out. Things you said about him before you wrote about the texts that you saw led me to believe that he was a jerk. You don't need to put up with a jerk like that in your life. You deserve better. NWTGM1 says, I second this. This is a double betrayal here. How could they both do this to you at a vulnerable time is despicable. Also, please find a therapist to help you here. Note, you did nothing wrong here. They both did. Prepare yourself to boot him out and go no contact with both of them. You have other friends and your child to think about here. Those two are both off their rockers, and only if they both accept their responsibility in all this and get some serious mental help will their lives be maybe redeemable. But prepare yourself that they will not and project all the blame on you. Please try to take care of yourself here by eating, drinking water, and resting as much as you can with a newborn and this information. All right, time for the update. A lot has happened since I posted. A lot came out, a lot has been said, and now it's all out on the table. I called an aunt of mine after I posted and saw some comments saying I should have a friend or family member by. I packed my baby a bag, bottles, and stuff for a short stay with my auntie, who's been close by for the pregnancy and knows how to look after my baby because I don't want my child in the house whilst I talk about this. My husband was confused and was asking why I was packing stuff for her and not me also. I told him he will see. I texted my sister, "Come over right now," and she pushed Y and called me, but I just messaged her to get over here. It took her about 15 minutes to come, and my aunt came and took my daughter in that time, and my husband was getting increasingly worried. When my sister pulled up, my husband's arse fell out. The sudden look of realization hit him and he started crying. My sister came in and I told her to sit down, and I did as you all asked. Took pictures of the chat, her number, and all the contents that was on the chat. Pulled it up on the smart TV and told them both to tell me WTF had been going on. Admittedly, I did look quite insane, but I didn't care. She started crying, he started saying he was sorry over and over, and I explained they had broke me. How I raised my sister and gave my husband a daughter, and this is how they repay me? They confessed it had been happening for at least 7 months. He screwed her in our bed a couple of times, and they said it wasn't like they were in love with each other. What? Getting a lawyer in the morning. He's confessed to kissing a coworker also. I'll be picking my daughter up in an hour, and he's currently packing his crap whilst my sister is crying and begging me to not disown her. I'm ignoring it while I'm writing this. I really see I can only depend on myself in this time, and divorce is an only option for me because I don't want my daughter thinking men can do this to her. He's begging me and they are both begging me, but I'm not cracking. They made their bed, they can lie in it. Thank you everyone for your support and kindness. One final comment coming from Don't Worry It's Coming. So sorry this happened to you. It was good to confront them together so you get the whole story, and they didn't have time to get a fake narrative together. 7 months is a long time and a lot of betrayal. No one needs those types of people in their lives. Take care of you and that baby and let them be background noise. Lawyer up ASAP. Great that you got evidence. Keep good friends and family close, like your aunt, and let everyone know what they did so they don't lie because they will. Please take the best care of you and Munchkin. Things will be sad and difficult for a long while, but I promise they will start improving and you will come out better and much better off. There are good people in the world. You just got 2 of the crappy ones. I would go no contact as much as possible with those 2. And moving on to our final story of the day. I found out that my ex is retelling a clean version of what he and his pregnant affair partner did to me to some friends and other family members, making it look like a clean break. But I took it upon my hands to tell everything to his friends what I knew. Every freaking detail. I've unfriended these friends of his in social media before his engagement to his affair partner in order for me to avoid possible triggers of his memories to me. They treated me well when they knew me, and they too wondered why I wasn't the one my ex is now engaged to. They expected it was me, and they felt thrown off the first time they knew after seeing their announcement on social media. They knew something didn't sit right. It's been 2 weeks since my ex and his pregnant affair partner announced that they were engaged, and after much thought, I tried to reach out to this handful of friends and ask them outright what they knew. They were so shocked at the harrowing details and sick to their stomach. They too wondered why I unfriended them before. They thought my ex and I ended on good terms, but no, he doesn't get to retell this BS on his terms. Telling a handful of his friends that I knew is enough for me, and it lightened the burden I am carrying even for a little bit. I'm still completely no contact with him and his family now. And I took this time to explain to these friends that I didn't want to really disconnect with them. It was just circumstances. They too want to keep me as their friend instead of my ex after knowing everything, and they are disgusted to their core. They haven't met the girl he was marrying either. They knew hands down I was a good woman to my ex, that I kept my head up a little bit even if I reopened my wounds to them. The validation and the comfort of letting the truth out helped me. Other people would have posted about what they did in social media to get the so-called trial by publicity, but I couldn't do it because it might be sensationalized. I don't want him back at all. I just wanted to be able to defend myself, because seeing their engagement and the people happy about it disturbed me a lot. I just thought this was something subtle I could do to defend myself, especially to people who knew about us and witnessed our relationship too. They knew in their heart something was wrong, but they weren't told the truth. Posting anonymously here in Reddit also helped me a lot. I thank everyone for the advice and support I've been getting. Every day is a struggle, and it's only been 2 months since our breakup. But going no contact is helping me a lot, though I am still mentally disturbed by the events. Work distracts me well enough too, and friends and colleagues are 100% supportive. I haven't told my parents the disturbing details too, only the part that he was having an affair. But they don't know that he's now engaged to the girl he cheated on me and got pregnant. I want to protect their sanity as my parents. Some friends do encourage me to tell them, but I'm still contemplating when. Maybe when I feel more healed. Any advice on this? I cry less frequently now, though it's still every day. There's also a physical pain. What gets me through is praying and venting to friends and colleagues. I've been working out too. Cycling and high-intensity interval training. We'll try boxing soon also. Every day may be a struggle, but every day is another day towards healing. Now my thoughts. They wanted to know the truth, and I think it makes them feel better that you unfriended them to avoid heartache, not because you hated them or anything like that. As for telling your parents, the sooner they know, the sooner they can help you. Better to hear it from you than to hear about the engagement or wedding from someone else. Word gets around even if your two families are worlds apart. Your parents might be your strongest support group. Good luck.